Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Be Fearless podcast. I have with us Jayesh. He is the founder of the Cloud Village. So, Jayesh, I would want to know what was the story behind Cloud Village.
Let's take a bit of a scenic route around it. I had built an open source tool called Cloud Security Suite. This was doing CSPM before the word CSPM became a little more famous.
Yeah.
And 2018, as part of presenting that, 2018, I was at DEF CON Demo Labs. First DEF CON was presenting and came across the villages. And I'm like, hey, these are cool concepts. Saw there was no Cloud Village. I'm like, hey, we can start this off. And I got in touch with Shubham, who runs the Recon Village, and he guided me around it. And we submitted for Cloud Village 2019, and it just worked out. And we went there. First year was fun. There were 3 or 4 of us trying to bring it all together. But so research leading to exposure to villages and bringing this concept that, okay, there's a community, there's a gap where Cloud Village is not there, so let's bring it in. And here we are, it's been 6 years. Yeah.
That's great.
Yeah.
So, how has this year's DEF CON been for you?
This year, every DEF CON is different, to be honest.
Yeah.
This year, we have a new space. Mm-hmm. Like earlier, we were doing it out of a few hotels, and like DEF CON used to happen that way, and Cloud Village will get a specific place. Yeah. This year, because it's one big convention center, you have things more streamlined. Spaces are relatively bigger for Cloud Village as well. We have a dedicated talk space. We have dedicated CTF space.
Yeah.
Bigger space means we can do a lot more than we could do earlier.
Yes.
That's obviously good, and this helps me to go around as well. When it was back in previous years, when it used to happen in like 3 or 4 hotels, I would just stick to the hotel where Cloud Village was, and I would just spend my time there. This is pretty much the first DEF CON after I started Cloud Village when I'm actually going around. Yeah. So accessibility is easier. Folks have also said that it's easier to go around because due to the heat of Vegas, sometimes you just don't jump into the other hotel because you don't want to go through that walk, right? So all in all, good. I would say this is a good setup, and it's been fun so far. Yeah.
So what are some of the interesting things you are seeing in the village this year?
Over the years, what I've seen is as cloud has moved, like for example, you don't find any new company, or you rarely find a company which is on-prem. Yeah. Most of them are cloud or are moving to cloud or are born in cloud.
Yes.
And all the cloud providers releasing more and more services. What it has come down to was that earlier, over the years, when we have talked about infrastructure, configuration issues, how you can abuse a service, the number of services are increasing. Yeah. And I think security in a nutshell, according to me, is abuse of functionality. As functionalities are increasing, the abuse is also increasing, and talks are just at a different scale. Yeah. And with containers and Kubernetes coming into the picture, there's different things. There is LLMs coming in, so we have talks around that. Yeah. Companies on cloud basically means CI/CD pipelines and how you're doing DevSecOps actually kind of become part of the cloud as well. So all in all, the range is getting wider, and it's a good problem to have. Yeah.
So talking about like cloud in general, typically a lot of companies are nowadays opting for managed services because they feel like there's a little bit less overhead on setting up your own or managing your own things. What is your take on how does the security differs for a managed service versus like managing it yourself?
The way I see it, managed services do take a lot of overhead away from you. Yeah. But then there is this other side as well, that you are building a product, for example, right? Most of the companies which are using managed services have a product which they want to run.
Yes.
You're maintaining a quality of product, and you're hiring accordingly. Yeah. But when you have a managed service, that essentially is an extension of your product because you're securing, and their quality also gets defined.
Yes.
Their quality defines rather your product's quality, because that's a security of your product. Yeah. So that's one thing which is which is an interesting piece to solve. Yeah. And I think there becomes a cultural difference as well.
Yeah.
That companies would want to run things in a certain culture,
Yes.
and managed services again, it's a different culture.
Yes.
And bridging security in a lot of ways is a people problem.
That's true.
So
Yeah,
then
definitely.
bridging two different kind of people together is quite a challenge. With that being said, you can figure it out.
Yeah.
There are ways to do it in a far better way.
Yeah.
But understanding these key pieces help you align both the teams in terms of expectations, in terms of throughput,
Yeah.
and in terms of journey as well. Because security again is not it can't happen in a day, it can't happen in a month. It's a journey.
Yes,
So
yes.
that's my take on it. Yeah.
Okay. What is your take on like DevSecOps? So you mentioned it earlier, like
Yeah.
that's also becoming quite common.
Yeah.
So what is your take on that?
I look at it. It's just I think from a cloud context.
Yeah.
They just now you have. Rather than on-prem, we have a cloud.
Yes.
That's the only difference, where, like in a very foundational way.
Yes.
But I think DevSecOps was always needed. The word has been out there for a while, but
Yeah.
companies are picking it up, and it also sets you well to shift left, because you have your infrastructure, you have your CI/CD pipelines, you have your application, and DevSecOps is a nice word.
Yeah.
It's a nice concept, but essentially at the end of the day, it comes down to securing at every level.
Yeah.
And security being it's never a one-shot thing. It's only a multi-layered concept.
Yeah.
So. The name can be different, but at the end, it kind of boils down to that. Hey, you figure out a baseline security. You figure out where you are.
Yeah.
You figure out where you want to be,
Yeah.
and then you figure out how you're going to chart the path. You can call that path anything.
Yeah.
And when you reach a certain goal or a milestone, then you figure out how to in parallel shift as left as possible.
Yeah.
And if you're successful to do that, then when you climb that hill, you find another hill to climb. That's what it is.
That's true. That's true. So going forward, like, what do you think are upcoming trends in like cloud security? Like, what do you perceive is like a possible trend?
I think there is a lot of hybrid clouds.
Yeah.
Like companies are eventually this is turning out to be eventuality that companies are using multiple clouds.
Yeah.
And they are figuring out ways that it can integrate with each other, like
Yes.
right from logs to data, how they can move around. And security also, doing it in multi-cloud needs different expertise. And that complicates the problem while increasing the functionalities. But this is where it is going, according to me, that everyone would have to have a hybrid model, but would eventually end up, not have to have, but you eventually end up with a hybrid model, because even the cloud providers, they are winning their battles, the non-security battles.
Yes.
While we are talking about security, the non-security battles they have is about functionalities, how they can build.
That's true.
Some cloud providers are good at certain things, and the other ones are at other places. So you got to have how you can do it across different cloud providers, security, and how you can navigate through it. That's going to be very tricky.
Yeah. Sometimes cost also plays a major role for some companies.
It always is.
Yeah.
I don't think it's some companies. I believe it's every company, because that's how cost basically translates to business, right?
True.
In an expense fashion, but still business, right?
Yes.
So that's interesting to see. And with LLMs and other models coming in, I think there are services which cloud providers are coming up with, which are around those. So while we're still figuring out security around it, around those functionality, the functionalities are out there, and they might just be a vector to get in and then disrupt your already built defenses. So the future is more functionalities, figuring out more security around it.
It's actually true, and you actually bring up a very good point that often functionalities like go out first, and we talk about security a little late. I feel there's a need of a bit of change in this perspective as well, like taking it hands-on maybe. What are your views?
There is a need to change it. There is no doubt about it. But I think when I look at it, it's easier said than done.
True.
Because security becomes an afterthought a lot of times. Well, I would love to have that perfect world where security is like the first thing which is focused. But in general, there's so many experimentations which happens with every company, because that's how you build a product and build a company. So I have. What do I tell you about it? Okay, so I think in the perfect world it should work, but in general, business is driven by bringing the whole journey of like anything you build. Also, you have an idea, you have an MVP, then you do the 0 to 1 journey, then you look at 1 to 10, all of that, and plugging in security with experimental ideas is always tricky. But for companies who know that no matter what, we are going to, whatever we are starting with, we are going to build it and we're going to execute it. For them, it is a much plausible and much doable journey. But if you ask a new budding startup coming up to do it, this would essentially end up being a blocker for them. And I genuinely believe security by design can come out to people as a blocker. It's for the security engineer and the security teams to make sure that it acts as an enabler while also figuring out that you don't get hacked.
That's true. And cloud, like you mentioned, has always been like one of the ways through which most of the startups and most of the companies are able to like move quickly to the market. Because they find like all these services already available. They just plug and play and just start using it. But I mean, security in the best world would definitely be like a first thought. But in practical,
there's a whole range of every company wants to operate in a different way, and it also there are not many companies which start with security first vision. It's always about functionality and product first, and investors, and then scaling and all of that. So let's hope we get to that perfect world. But I have a feeling when we reach there, we'll get bored.
That's true. Often when we talk about like cloud security, one of the common themes that generally like I have seen online is that it mostly because of some sort of a misconfiguration or some sort of a extra privilege given. How do you think developers like don't think about security when they start doing things, but what do you think should be like a right direction for them to avoid these things later on in production? Like
just in terms of misconfigurations or motor? I think misconfigurations, you can have either you can go the open source route, you can build something in-house, or you can get a tool in place which is constantly monitoring of any misconfigurations coming in. And you need to have a team which is looking at those alerts. If there's anything critical, you can have more critical alerting systems. And that is the traditional path which can be figured out well. Like not traditional, it's the straightforward path which everyone should do. You can go towards a bit more advanced stuff where you start auto remediation. It's always better to have an in-house team build auto remediation, because if every product was same, they would not survive the market. Every product is customized as per a different market space which is trying to conquer. So I've managed to, my team has managed to get a lot of auto remediation done in my previous org where I was, where I current am. That takes a lot of overhead away, because while misconfigurations can be alerted, fixing them is a bigger pain, because you don't know what it's going to end up affecting, whether whether it's actually whether it will stop the business altogether, right? And a security team has a very tricky job in making sure business doesn't get stopped, and there's continuity as well. And sometimes they have to put their foot down and stop the whole thing altogether. So misconfigurations can be figured out. Misconfigurations, handling them is a bigger pain to figure out, but auto remediation really helps, because then you are enrolling your entire org. That hey, if I find something with this configuration, I'm going to fix it on my own automatically, and that seems to be working fairly well.
Also like recently, most of these cloud providers are also coming up with their own security products, which sort of look at any kind of real time abnormality or an anomaly that is there. Some of them are also using like machine learning for doing these kind of things. How do you envision like machine learning and AI being a part of like the cloud security journey in the coming future?
I think the maturity of the machine learning once we get there, if the models are trained well
Yes.
and you are confident about it,
Yeah.
then it might pan out well.
Yeah.
Because security is not like it's either 0 or 1. You
True,
can't
true.
be like I'm 99% secure because that 1% is gonna
Yes.
actually be the path by which someone gets in.
Yes,
Right?
yes.
So if the models mature well, it would work well. But those models have to, again, the context is very important for models.
True.
So it is all dependent on the company. Because if you look at it, while machine learnings are a quicker way and like they can learn,
Yeah.
but they're essentially, the way I see it, if you're auto-remediating something, that's also a machine doing something. It's just not smart enough to learn and execute things.
Yes.
If something other than the ordinary comes out,
Yeah.
right? So models have to mature. They have to be built with the context of the org.
Yes.
And context also involves that, hey, this is a fun account which people use for playing.
Yes.
So don't go all crazy on this.
Yes.
But this is my critical assets. I want to make sure that you can still fix things here and have like an anomaly rate, but here it has to be cent percent because
Yes.
this is my main
Yes.
business. Right?
Yeah,
That's awesome.
actually, I've brought up a good point as well. Often, in organizations, like developers, like experiment with cloud services, and I think this segregation is like very, very important. It's like the bare minimum you should definitely have.
Yes.
Otherwise, these kind of misconfigurations can happen.
Yes,
So,
yes. It's
yeah.
not a perfect world.
That's very true. That's very true. So, what's next for the next DEF CON? Like, do you have any plans?
So obviously we'll have the talks, the tool demos, the lightning talks, the workshops. We'll have a CTF. We keep bringing in new things as per what experience we've had in every year.
Yeah.
For me, I don't think I genuinely think that running a community or running a village cannot be just dependent on one person giving out ideas.
Absolutely.
So we work towards brainstorming after every event. That hey, what fun do we want to do next year? And then we reconvene again 3 or 4 months before the event that while we had ideas, what can we actually execute?
Yes.
And we want to do more hands-on stuff. We want to do, we would like if we can, while DEF CON has been kind to us and they have given us bigger space, we still have a line running and we have to reset the room after every talk because there are more number of people standing outside than sitting inside.
Yes.
So we would like to solve that problem and DEF CON has been helpful to for us to get a bigger space, but the problem keeps coming again. While it's a good problem to have, we would like to fix it. Moreover, we're also something new which we are doing this year is while we have our CTF ends tonight, like today midnight. And tomorrow we'll keep it open for people to play. But we're also doing a quick 1.5 to 2 hours workshop for anyone who was like, hey, I could not get started with CTF, so we'll have the team around for from 10 to 12, so that they can learn around. Right?
Yeah. That's good. That's good. So just to like going back to your journey. So how did you started with cybersecurity in general?
Oh, I believe anyone who gets into security has this interesting story around it. So that's a very that's something. If I'm meeting someone, also I ask the same question because there's always something interesting around.
Yes.
I would try to keep it as brief as possible.
Yeah.
I passed out from I did my BTech back home in India from Vellore, and I used to play snooker for the college state level, and somehow after college I got into PayPal as a developer.
Okay.
And they had a pool table there. Snooker is 4 times the area, the British table, and pool table is kind of small, so I could wrap it up fairly quickly. I met eBay security guys there, and we started. They started actually pulling my leg because I was just fresh out of college, and they're like, "Hey, have you been playing this all your life?" And we got into some conversation. Got to know that they knew Null community.
Oh.
They got me introduced to it. The very next Saturday or the Saturday after that, we were having the meetup. Went there, met a couple of really cool people. Got drunk after that, and that's how the security journey started. And then I contributed to open source tools. I was leading a WASP project as well, and it's basically community who made me feel at home and gave me whatever I asked for to be a security guy. So that's how it is.
I'm sure your journey has been very inspiring for everyone.
No, but I hope
it is.
That's not what I was going for, but I was having fun.
It is. So thank you so much for joining us today. It was lovely talking to you.
Same here, Shourya. Thank you for having me.
Hi, Jayesh again.
Hi.
Welcome again to our Be Fearless podcast. So happy to have you here.
Thank you.
So this is going to be more of an informal part of our conversation where I just would love to ask you questions that a lot of cybersecurity entrepreneurs would love to know. We know that you're a CISO and a lot of cybersecurity professionals aspire to be you. So maybe what advice would you give to those professionals that would like to become a CISO?
Okay, tricky question. I think
Yes.
everyone has their path. I think I think this goes for anything other than like not just the CISO part, but if you're aiming anything, you have to figure out the foundational pieces which would lead you to there. There's no straight path to get there, but I would say the foundational pieces are obviously you got to be you start off with tech. You need to understand the bottom line of how things work. You can't hack your way out of it. You have to learn it. There is no ways.
Yes.
Being part of communities really help because that gets you out of your bubble called as organization. That okay, we do it this way. You have to look beyond, and that happens with when you go to community events.
Okay.
It made security community events.
Yes,
yeah,
yes,
you get a better idea of where the world is, what folks are doing, whether they're doing like in which area cool stuff is happening, and you kind of find your way around it because security is a very broad field altogether.
Yeah, it is.
So yeah, that's there. Soft skills are important, obviously, because at the end of the day, you want to meet people, you want to understand how they think.
Yeah.
Either you can go with that, okay, I think the best way possible out there, or you can be very realistic about it, that I might not know everything, let me just go out and learn. And all of these things kind of come in together. Your tech skills help you understand the problem statement better so you can grow up the ladder and help out people. Your community help you meet people along the way, and your skill set with people. How I think if you're in community, you learn to be with people and understand how people operate, and you're able to enroll people well into your visions. I think as you grow up the ladder, these foundation pieces, as you grow up, I think a lot of journey becomes how you enroll people into what you're trying to achieve. Because you can't do it all on your own. You would have a team which will actually lead you to success. And being there for the team really helps. In a word, if I have to put it, empathy really helps. Right?
That's so interesting. I love how during this conversation you highlighted how important it is to emphasize soft skills. You can be an amazing tech person, but then at the end of the day, if you want to reach that leadership position, you have to be able to have strong network, and not just within your organization. You have to be adventurous enough to go out there and meet new people. So when do you think is the best time to start doing it?
I think right now for these things.
For anyone, anytime.
Yeah. I'll tell you a bit something personal around that front. When I met community 13 years back, how I got started with security as well. I was someone who was nervous in public. If you put me in front of 4 people to speak, I would stammer.
Really, I can't imagine that.
It's been a fun ride since then. But what I did, what really helped me put things into perspective, my first company, second company, PayPal. When I was working with them, I remember the person's name as well, Atul Beg. He was giving a presentation, and he was a senior director. And what he said was, after a point in your career, your technical skills just amount to 20% of your job. 80% is your communication skill, how you get things done. And that resonated with me, and that's when I decided that I'm going to go and present in communities. I'm going to be uncomfortable about it, but I'm going to find some ways, and it has become better and better with that intention.
You can actually give a shout out to that person,
It's Atul Beg.
Okay. I never met the person, but I'm sure it's like meeting such a strong mentors in your life really helps you find that direction, and it probably is the reason why you are here versus when you started.
Honestly, the person would not even know me. I was just listening to him, and I realized that. But I think that's the thing about leaders. They say certain things which resonate with some folks, and the more it resonates with folks, it inspires more people to go and do something about it.
That's awesome. But in general, role of a CISO is quite stressful. So how do you manage the stress and long days, and how do you find your balance and your calm self?
I think meditation helps.
Okay.
To be very honest, that kind of keeps you more centered, and it lets you not freak out if things are going wrong, because things would go wrong. But I'll say, like, while meditation is a nice tool to have, I think essentially it boils down to not freaking out, because things are going to go wrong. You're in the space where you
things
you
are
don't
always going wrong.
you don't get paid to do good stuff,
Yes.
but you get you are concerned if things go wrong, right?
Of course.
So that's the name of the game, and that's what you're playing.
Yeah.
But yeah, being more connected with yourself and people you work with, it helps you to not freak out if things go wrong. You are instantly there to what needs to be done next, because a lot of time, a lot of important time gets wasted when things don't go wrong. You start dissecting it. Why did they should not go wrong, rather than dissecting it. That hey, it went wrong. Let's figure this out. Let's get into an action mode rather than brainstorming.
Then freaking out mode.
Yes. So that skill is helpful, and if you surround yourself with people who resonate with you on that particular aspect of life, it becomes a more seamless journey. And I think as CISO, you have to enroll the folks you work with, your peers, as well as, like, you're going to generally end up working with the board or the founders of the company. You have to enroll them that this is the world we live in. These are how we reduce blast radius as quickly as possible. Can be helpful. Blast radius doesn't always have to be a hack to contain the blast radius. Sometimes it's just things which didn't go right.
Yes.
Instantly getting into not getting into the moods and feelings of it, but going into the action mode that, hey, let's figure this out together. And together being the key word, it works better.
Yeah, together is always better than alone. It's just wherever you go, especially in the stressful situations, there is nothing better than having the strong support of people around you. And what allows leaders to be leaders is to be the support, but also to be supported. So that's super important. So maybe walk us through your day. How does your day look like? Are you 5 a.m. kind of person, or what time do you wake up? Just walk us through your day. What do you tend to do?
I'm not a 5 a.m. person, for sure.
Me too.
Someday I'll get there, but not right now. As of now, I think I do plan my day. Actually, the planning starts the night before. I need to be well rested. I know things can go wrong in so many ways if you're not in the right place, like the right frame of mind. I remember one of those. I still remember a day where I should have taken leave that day, but I was like, hey, let me push through. Let me just get the work done. By the end of the day, I realized that where I started the day with, I was ending the day behind it, because I took some decisions which created a domino effect and which had to be figured out. So which essentially, as a leader, what I see is you have to be very careful of how you're aligning people, and you cannot be myopic about that, that I'm just going to go with my thought process. You have to take the data set and then move. So coming back to the day part, well rested, meet your team, if there are any firefightings involved. But in general, there are some frameworks I've put in place so that my team can function without me. And the day just starts from there. And I don't have a lot of planned things, but my planned things go in a manner that they're automated. My team kind of figures it out. I'm not supposed to be involved with it, but the day starts with, let's figure out if something is broken, let's fix it. If nothing is broken, let's talk about things which we already have planned. Are we moving in those directions? And it's very important to and a lot of my work involves enrolling people, enrolling my team into doing what you're doing, enrolling my stakeholders on what we are doing, and creating a culture where it's okay to screw up.
That's awesome.
It's not okay to screw up again. You screw up once, you learn, and then you execute, and you screw up in a new way again. That's all right, but don't screw up in the same way. So they pretty much goes like this, and I don't really stress a lot about my day. I don't know whether it's a good thing or not, but so far it has been kind. That analogy has been kind to me, and people I work with are just fabulous. So it just
That's awesome.
makes the day lighter.
I think your team must be so lucky, as you said. It's okay to screw up, and a lot of times people are just feeling so worried to screw up, and it stops them from making the small decisions, and they start to check every little decision with you. And sometimes it's okay to screw up. It's completely fine. And you know what I found out by meeting so many great CISOs and in general cybersecurity professionals? Most decisions are data driven. So I know in some industries decisions are based on emotion, how I feel, how I wake up, but in cybersecurity most decisions are data driven. Okay, give me data and it gives you the right direction to move. So this is I think that really differentiates a strong leader versus someone that just relies on emotions. Yeah. So maybe to someone that wants to become CISO, what would you say first step they should take?
If you're starting off, right, it depends on where in the journey of cloud security, sorry. It's been a long day for Cloud Village and it's going to be cloud security. But yeah, and in the journey of security, you have to first map out where you are, right? And that helps you define what you know and what you don't know. You should not have an illusion of what you don't know and what you know. You should really know what you know and what you don't know. And there are things you don't know that you don't know. We'll get into that later.
Yeah.
But once you have that idea, you understand the baseline of where you are. And then you pick it up from there that, okay, we'll go back to the older, like the first question you asked me, what are the foundational pieces, right? What I was talking about. Then you have to look at, okay, what are the skill gap I have to address in terms of technical aspect, right? What are the skill gap I need to do in terms of how big is my bubble of community, or it's just an office bubble, right? And then you look at also that how can I be with people and figure it out. So I think these three main pillars, there's another smaller pillar which is like, can you look at a problem which has not been solved by anyone, but you can still gear towards it? Because at the end of the day, every product is different. If you're going to be CISO for a company, you might not have solutions, no matter how many certification, how many labs you go through, you might not have solutions for everything. So you need to have that mindset. Either have that mindset or have people around you who have that mindset.
Of course.
But you have to look at where skill gaps are there in these different foundational parameters. If you bridge them, the journey becomes quicker, efficient, and easier to you. The journey is kinder to you. Otherwise, the journey is very stressful.
I think overall it's such a great advice to all the aspiring cybersecurity professionals out there. I just really hope that they do listen to all this podcast and grasp all this knowledge. And I think it's just been incredible. Thank you so much, Jayesh, for this conversation.
Thank you. It was a pleasure.
Thank you so much
Cheers.
for being here.